We were losing patients, and we were shipping them out as fast as we could, and there was nowhere to ship them. So we were trying everything we could to keep these patients alive. And it is a small community, so I knew some of the patients that were in the hospital. The choices that we made were, it was hard. It was hard.
Just want to check in with you to see how you're feeling right now.
Pretty emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. It talking helps, but it brings back the trauma. It just really brings back the emotion of just helplessness. And talking about it, how helpless I was, how I felt like I wasn't doing enough, and what could I do? What more could I do? And I'd go home and, you open Facebook, and that's probably the worst thing to do, is get on social media during this. And I remember one time I was reading along and I saw this RIP, and it was a picture of one of my best friend's sons.
Oh, wow.
I was just shocked because he was not that old. And after that, shortly after that, I lost another friend. And it just seemed like it just kept going. I never had time to recover and to mourn, because there was so many more to mourn afterwards. It was okay that 8, 10, 12 hours that you were working, but as soon as you were done and in your car, it all came back, and it was depressive. And like I said, I was angry. And I would go home and I would sit there. I wouldn't talk to my family.
So it impacted your family life.
It completely impacted my family life. It took any kind of connection, because I had spent so much energy at work that I didn't have the energy to expend at home. So I would go home, I would pick up a book, and I would start reading a book. And I'd read for hours, because I didn't want to go to bed, because I knew that as soon as I went to sleep, I had to get up the next morning and do it again. So I avoided sleeping. I don't sleep well now. I still don't sleep well. I go to bed. It doesn't matter. I'm usually awake by 3:30 in the morning, even if I go to bed at midnight. And then I can't go back to sleep. You lay there and your brain is just traveling so fast, and so many ideas and thoughts are impacting you. And it just becomes so overwhelming that you can't shut down. You can't shut your brain off to go back to bed. I felt like, I would have these moments where my memory wasn't good. And I would question and doubt myself. Did I give that medication? Did I do that right? Did I add something I shouldn't have? And so I was constantly panicked and paranoid.
After being a nurse 20 years,
Yeah.
Now you're second guessing yourself.
I'm second guessing the things that were simple and easy before.
Yeah.
And then I was placing blame on myself. I was blaming myself for not being able to do it. And then it was just like a snowball going down a mountain. It was just growing bigger and bigger and bigger, with what seemed like there was no end. It seemed like there was no out, that I was trapped in this and there was no way for me. That's how I felt. I felt like I was trapped. Mm-hmm. And it just got to be where I was forgetful. I got a phone call one morning, and And I was asked, I'm an IV nurse. I was asked to go start an IV. And it was like 3 hours later, I remembered the phone call when I reached in my pocket and found the sticky note.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And it was like, oh my God, I forgot that. How did I forget to start an IV on a patient that needed it? Wow. So it was shortly after that I saw my doctor in the hallway. He was walking through. And I stopped him and I said, I think I'm experiencing some burnout. And he goes, I think you are too. And he asked me at that time, he said, do you need some time off? And I said, no, I'm fine. I've got this. And he said, when you hit your brick wall, come and see me. And it was probably a month later, I went to work in the morning, and I had left early the day before. I'd asked to go home early. And when I got to work, I didn't want to be there. I mean, I did not want to be there. And so I put my name down on our little break sheet that I wanted to go home early. And within an hour, I was so angry at my coworkers. I was angry at my patients. I walked into my manager's office and I said, I need to go home. I can't do this. And she said, I'll get you out of here as soon as I can. And I truly think she worked at doing that, but it was probably 5 o'clock at night before she was able to get me out of there. It might have been a little sooner. So I worked all day with that anger and that angst and that compartmentalizing, put a smile on your face, sit down in front of the patient, and tell the patient how wonderful they are, and inside just internally dying. And I told her I needed some time off, and she said, okay. And I went to my doctor the next week, and I was sitting in the room, and he walked through the door, and he looked at me, and he said, you hit your brick wall, didn't you? And he knew. And I said, yeah. And so...
How was that to feel seen?
It was like relief. It was like he understood that that I could only do so much. That's what he understood. So I had asked him, he had asked me if I needed time off, and I said, yeah, I think I do. At that time, not thinking that I was going to go anywhere with this. I was just going to take a couple weeks off. I'd feel good. And he said, hold on a second. Yeah. So my boss had said that I could take 3 months. And so I told him that. And we decided in the office that I would take it monthly, 1 month at a time. And I thought that was perfect because my full intention was to go back to work. After that appointment, I took my paperwork up on the second floor, and just getting on the elevator, I almost turned around and said, I quit. I was so close to quitting because just the anxiety of stepping onto that elevator and going up to my floor and seeing my coworkers that I was letting down.
That was really painful for you. Because you advocate for...
I do, and here I wasn't going to be advocating for them. And so... Sorry.
It's okay.
So I went, elevator door open, and picture this, like my heart just dropped. And eyes, like you get that tunnel vision. It was like tunnel vision down the hall. Didn't look at my coworkers. Walked into the office, and I handed her my leave of absence papers. And she asked how long, and I said, it's just for a month, but I think I might have to take 3 months. And she said, that's fine. And she took the paper out to the printing machine to get a copy. And there was another nurse that was sitting there. And while my manager was out of the room, we were talking a little bit, and she looked at me and she says, well, have a nice vacation.
Oh, wow.
And I think the stigmatism and the guilt and the letting my coworkers and my family and my community and friends down of not being there. I don't think people understand just what it means. But that, to me, was devastating. I don't think her intent was that, but the impact was so huge on me that I looked at her and I said, I will. And I haven't been back.
That's a lot. You've told me a lot, but I want to just check in with you to see how you're doing, and if there's something more that you want to tell me about your experience, or if you need a break right now. I just want to...
I think the thing is that, like I said, I've been a nurse over 20 years, and I think I'm so conditioned that I say things and then I move them out because I don't have the ability. I'm so exhausted that I don't have the mental capacity to dwell.
So are you doing that now?
I am.
Okay, so can we kind of work on that and experiment with saying something and being with it and not moving it out?
We can try, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy because it hurts. And it's really hard.
Where does it hurt?
I think it's the guilt. It's the guilt of not being there. And it's really hard to dwell on that guilt because it's raw. And internally, it just devastates me that I'm in this condition. See, just a tightness, just thinking about it, just your body just wants to protect itself. And I think you go into a fight or flight mode. And for me, there's no fight left. It's all flight. Yeah, it is. It's easier to run than it is to face it. It doesn't take any energy to run. It takes a conscious thought to face it.